favourite ways to learn an aria when you sing. And one of the ways is actually to listen to nobody singing it, to actually look at the music raw on the page and learn it. And a lot of people talk about doing this. Learn it on the page so that it's yours. And only after that, start to listen to famous people singing it. Because otherwise we get too influenced by what they do. And I'm very much of that method of following your own path, of not doing, you know, I remember once I went to do a training program and they gave me the program and I said, they said, now, you know, play it back to us. And I said, good morning. And they said, no, that's not what's written on the page. We don't say good morning. We say, and I went, no, stop right there. I don't think we match. You know, I'm not going to follow someone else's word for word. I'm going to bring my own personality to it. And that for me is a key. The next tip or rule is, I would say, expand your horizons. You know, I mentioned it, it's about learning languages, it's about traveling, it's about working with different organizations, different types of people. You know, I am very, very, very grateful for time that I spent. You know, my first job's waitressing, quite frankly. I think that gave me an enormous insight into people and their choices and the way they make choices and, you know, all sorts of things. So widening horizons, very important. I actually saw this in the paper recently from Mrs. Boost Juice, and she said, choose your partners carefully. And I have to say, I haven't done that. If I had my time again, I would very much choose my partners. And I'm not talking about personal partners, but business partners, everyone you're with. It's not an accident. Choose them carefully because they have an enormous impact on what you do. Another idea that I've got is actually to listen to messages of the unconscious mind. Now, I get messages, and I'm not the only one who does this, I get messages from songs. So I can be walking along thinking of something and I find a song I'm singing and that song has a very clear message in it. And it's kind of like the unconscious's way of expressing itself through something. It expresses itself through song that I just realise I'm humming. And it's quite funny because you can be singing something like, oh, death, this will never work. You know, and people say, oh, you're singing, you must be happy. No, actually, the message of the song is, this is a disaster, get out. But song brings you messages. They're not always happy messages. I work strongly in getting back to nature. I ride horses in the country, and it's so important to me. It tends to put me into a different mental state. Getting back to nature in some way, I think, is very important. You know, even I set up retreats, health retreats in beautiful places. I think when it comes to learning, that when we set up training rooms with, you know, this dreadful fluorescent lighting, no windows, and in, you know, a grey, it's crippling. It's absolutely crippling. Life has to be more of an artwork and more back to nature if we're going to learn and get our minds engaged. Clearly, something I'm going to recommend is singing. Don't bother telling me you can't sing because everybody can sing. So nobody's listening. Just sing in the shower, sing wherever, because voice is a thermometer of personal state and it tells you how you're feeling. You know, I worked with a client once who came to me, who was a politician, well known, and they came to me and they were talking like this. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, nothing, I'm perfectly, you know, nothing, I'm perfectly fine. And I said, well, gee, I'm hearing something. And I went away and got a recording of what happened 2 years ago, their voice. And then I played it to them and I said, do you hear a difference? Because actually what you're doing now is the voice of depression. And this person said, I'm not depressed. Went away, came back a week later and said, Louise, you're right, I'm depressed. And they resigned from their job and have been thankful to me ever since because they said I was denying it to myself. But I could hear it in the voice, and the voice tells you so much. It tells you whether you're up, whether you're down, whether you're stressed, whether you're frightened, and voice is a choice. So if you can alter your voice, you can alter your mind. So work with voice, don't ignore it. Tons of times in my life have benefited from a mentor, and I'm not alone in that. People love you to ask them. Just go and ask them, will you be my mentor? And people will give. It's made huge differences at different times in my life, and there's tons of research around it. Don't ignore it. Get a mentor, something I'd very much advise. Keep going. Most people in the music profession, those who do well, are those who stay in it. Just keep going. Keep along a track. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I don't intend ever giving up, quite frankly. I'm just going to keep going, so I recommend keep going. I stand by this till death do us part, and that's humour. I cannot see why just about anything can't have a funny side. And not only that, it's got a health benefit. Laughter is two things. It's the bouncing of the diaphragm, which actually gets the breathing going, and the opening of the throat, which gets the air out and the sound out. There is never not a place for humour. Here's something I realised got me to the Vienna State Opera on a soloist contract. Do you know what? I saw that years before I did it. I actually saw it. It was very clear for me right here, and I had that goal. And it was almost like everything that I did worked towards that. And I just don't think that it can be helpful enough to dare to dream. So often, no, it couldn't be, no, I don't want to think about that. Well, why not? Why not? Have a dream, have a colour, have a place for it in your mind, have a weather to it, anything that you can add to make that dream real. And it is my personal experience that actually moulds your everyday in the now if you have a dream, a vision.